UIC.
Freedom the people of
Hell yeah.
freedom the people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom the people of want. Freedom the people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom the people of want. Freedom the people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom the people of want. Freedom the people of need. Yeah,
Yeah. Real man a road. Now bow wolf in a tree grand a road. Now bow down to no demon a road. UIC when you see man a road, me say yeah. Real man a road. Now bow wolf in a tree grand a road. Now bow down to no demon a road. UIC when you see man a road. Ready for broke every chain. Then when you free up the people, levitate. Jamaica member, you ever great. I feel burn up the fire upon every snake. Me give thanks in every way. God still a look down once see we safe. UIC run the road long time. GLP and PMP I sell we out. Till I do the test even though we know the end result. If them coulda kill with them catch we and hang we know. No force no coercion, me freedom in a step. Them want to rob we and kill we and feel them I go make it out. You know see the leeches, you know see the hands of the devil when him sleep with. You know see the leeches, you know see the hands of the devil when him sleep with. Yeah, yeah. Real man a road. Now bow wolf in a tree grand a road. Now bow down to no demon a road. UIC when you see man a road, me say yeah. Real man a road. Now bow wolf in a tree grand a road. Now bow down to no demon a road. UIC when you see man a road. Yeah, me drop the braffin now, and then I laughing now. What them talking about? Everything cement and we not talking growth. Jamaican intellectuals are marching now. Them couldn't get the last laugh, no them laughing loud. We don't need the small talk when we talking, bro. We don't need them 5 grand, we need to part them now. Long time GLP and PMP I sell we out. Till I do the test even though we know the end result. If them coulda kill with them catch we and hang we know. No force, no coercion, me freedom in a step. Them want to rob we and kill we and feel them I go make it out. You know see.
Hello, good night everywhere. And for those who are in other countries in the diaspora, a good morning, good afternoon, whatever time. Welcome to UIC Liberty TV, and I am Chase Neal, General Secretary of the UIC and the Shadow Minister for Education and Human Development. All right, before we start, I'd like to big up some persons who have joined us already. Lion Rule the Jungle Without Fear. Good evening to you too. And Patricia Brooks, ready and waiting. All right, a blessed evening to you. Now, what we will be looking at today is how we can reduce violence among youth. Well, really, we want to reduce violence among the general population. But I focus on youth and women and children because of the the ministry that I shadow, rather. So the Ministry of Education, Human Development is really a ministry that combines the Ministry of Education and Youth, the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment, and Sports. So you see where the women come in there. It also comprises the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development and the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. So broad topics. But we will this evening be focusing especially on the children and women in light of one of the most heinous murders that was committed recently, the murder of Miss Kamisha and her 4 children, which sparked an article that I had written. And the focus of this evening will be on that article. And we'll be going through that article. It's actually in the description of this live. You can follow along if you wish. And we'll be talking about it, talking about what we can do as Jamaicans and what the UIC can do country safe and secure for all. Welcome, Nezuok Komodo. I hope I pronounced that properly. Enough niceness. Lady Williams. Leo Lord, welcome. All right, so we get right into it. Now, Jamaicans have been left shocked, appalled, and in grief over the latest killing. Well, this was written last at that time, the vicious murder of Kamisha Kimberly Wright and her 4 children in the parish of Clarendon. The UIC's Shadow Ministry of Education and Human Development thoroughly condemns this brutal massacre and calls for Jamaicans to unite and do something about this level of savagery in our society. For too long, we have been complaining about the murder. We have been complaining about the crime and the violence. Something. It is time to address this disregard for the sanctity of life and end the cycle of violence. It has been going on for much too long. Now, in an article in July 2020, our President Joseph Patterson said, according to an article in the Jamaica Gleaner, the homicide rate for Jamaican women is 9 per 100,000. But this is 6 times higher than the world's average. The homicide rate for Jamaican women is 6 times higher than the world's average. That's something to think about. The article continues, violent crimes in Jamaica are linked and usually perpetrated by men. There are, however, many cases of women being involved in violent crimes, but they make up a very small percentage of these cases. It is a common fact that solving men-on-men violence will reduce the occurrence of men-on-women violence in Jamaica and the rest of the world. So if we can target the man-on-man violence, then we can diminish the man-on-women violence. It is full time for our people to find our courage and our conscience and do what must be done to ensure a future for our country. Now, while this latest unfortunate barbarous act has sparked numerous knee-jerk calls for resignation of the Prime Minister, resignation of the Minister of National Security and the Commissioner of Police, and while there have been calls for stiffer, harsher penalties, including the death penalty, to be meted out to murderers and ardent criminals, we must not be blind to the real cause of all this crime and the solution. Now, I'd like to make a point here. Now, we are tired. We are tired of the violence. We're tired of the heartache. And so many people call for the death sentence. We believe that if we kill the murderers, then we will solve the violence problem. But there is no evidence at all that the capital punishment does reduce violence. What actually happens is that people become sneakier so that they don't get caught. Also, with a system of justice not being perfect and the chance of us punishing or really killing the wrong person, the death penalty is not the answer. Other persons call for bigger charges, longer for those who commit crimes and murder people. But instead of an emotional knee-jerk reaction, I think it is better for us to look at the numbers, check the sciences. Now, sociology does give some reasons for why persons may commit crime. According to the University of Chicago in the late 1920s and 1930s, now I am quoting from a sociology text, second Canadian edition of Introduction to Sociology, speaking about the social disorganization theory. And in this text, it says the University of Chicago in the 1920s and 1930s put forward a social disorganization theory that is most likely to occur in communities with weak social ties and the absence of social control. So when we have communities where people are not engaged, where young people, especially young men, are not seen as important to the social fabric, they have no connection to the wider society, no way of controlling their behavior socially, then crime, the incident, the likelihood of crime happening is increased. So if you don't have grandmother and mother and father, they're telling you, you need to come inside, come out the street, leave the gangs and so forth, then there is high likelihood that youth will be involved in crime, or more likely. If we don't have meaningful programs, youth clubs, then the likelihood of crime is going to increase. Now, according to the social disorganization theory, there are four types of social bonds that help to diminish crime and deviance. There's one called attachment, and it speaks to when we're closely attached to people, we worry about their opinions of us. And because we worry about their opinions, we conform to their expectations and the norms in order to gain approval and not risk disapproval. Now, this speaks to family, friends, and romantic partners. So, if there is no strong family structure, or if there are not enough friends who are, as they would say it the right way, those friends who are walking in the appropriate social norm, then the youth will not form attachment. Commitment is another social bond, and commitment refers to the investments we make in conforming to conventional behavior. For example, a well respected local business person who volunteers at church, for example, and is a member of the neighborhood watch or any other neighborhood organization has more to lose from committing a crime than a person who does not have such ties or a career that can jeopardize uh, their integrity or their reputation. So there is a cost slash benefit calculation in a decision to commit a crime according to the commitment section of this theory. Now, you are committed to a cause, it is less likely for you to commit a crime because you do not want to put your cause in jeopardy or your reputation in jeopardy. Another social bond is involvement, which is really participation in activities like clubs, sports, and so forth. And evidence does show that children and young adults who are members of youth clubs and sports teams, dance groups, for example, have fewer family crises and acts of social deviance. Now, the final bond in this theory is belief, and the belief is basically an agreement on what are the common or meaningful or sensible values in society. So a person views social values, belief, then that person will conform to them. For example, if it is an important belief not to litter the place, then a person will be less likely to litter the place because a clean environment would be a social value to the person. But if the person lives in a culture of nastiness and dirt and dumping, then then the belief will be that's okay to throw garbage anywhere. Now, if we understand the cause or one of the causes for crime, then we can find a solution. We then need to, if it is that the lack of social ties in a community will increase the risk of crime, if it is a lack of social control will increase, then if we kill them and we still leave the absence of social control, the absence of connection and integrated ties, then we are still going to breed more criminals. We're still going to breed more murderers. And we have not fixed the problem. We're just killing off people and might even kill an innocent person. Now, sociology, we're dealing with the sciences, also puts forward another theory as to why it is that crime is more likely to occur. And this is called the strain theory. Now, according to the strain theory, if there is no access to acceptable means of success or acceptable means of developing oneself, then a person is more likely to consider the illegal or the socially unacceptable way. So, for example, see how he or she can go to school, study, and after studying, after leaving school, find a good job, then why on earth would the youth do that? But if the youth see that they can get a banger phone and call some old people and get money because other persons are doing it, then which makes more financial and survival sense? So until we fix causes for crime, the lack of connection to society, and we'll be coming to how the UIC will facilitate this. Until we fix these conditions, the lack of social control, the lack of integration in society, no family ties, no ties in the community with everybody looking out for each other, we find in communities where everybody know each other and everyone's backs, then we don't have these instances of major deviances and crimes either. Until we fix the system that prevents people from legally and correctly getting progress in life, achieving their goals, then we will forever have people who will break the law or break the social rule and hurt others to get what they want, because it's a matter of survival for some. And if we don't have appropriate social control, then what do we expect? People will do what they can get away with. So we can always call for resignation of the Commissioner of Police and the Minister of National Security. We can call for hanging. We can call for electric chair, for stiffer penalties. But until we fix the source, then we will not fix the sickness. The system must change. The system that we exist in must change. And our system is perpetrated by a corrupt system of governance. So our corrupt system of governance and our inefficient judicial system allows crime to fester and spread like a vicious cancer. And in fact, these inefficient systems contribute to the crime. It is time to cut out the tumor and get rid of the cancer once and for all. Now, some persons may feel that thinking about politics or talking about politics to address problems such as crime might be over politicizing the issue. But if we consider that every aspect of our life is influenced by politics, then we would realize that through a change in politics, we can have a change in the culture. Now, the reality exists that the fact is years of inefficient management combined with our politicians' contribution to the creation of garrisons, our politicians' affiliation with dons and gangsters, and their participation in the drug trade and the gun trade, along with their dividing the people along party lines, JLP versus PNP, have fractured our society from 1944, when we got adult suffrage, until now. We know it is our same politicians, from the founders of the two parties from back then to now, who create the garrisons, who create to control the people within their territory to ensure their votes. And they have encouraged this over the decades, and now it has spilled out of control. Even now, politicians and high government officials are involved in getting guns in the country. So, how do we stop crime? How do we reduce the violence? by attacking it from the top, from the source down. Now, in addition to associating with dons and gangsters, in fact, building up the gangsters, building the garrisons, our government overprints our money. The overprinting of money has caused the devaluing of the Jamaican dollar. Now, we know that global issues cause inflation. Of production contributes to inflation. But on top of that, our government overprints our money, driving down the cost of the Jamaican dollar. And so while they get paid in US and get more money for every US dollar that they collect for salary, they drive up the cost of living for us Jamaicans. Because let us look at it now. If one Jamaican dollar, if one US costs 150 Jamaican dollar, and then in a couple more days, it costs 160 Jamaican dollars. When JPS, for example, imports oil, which it buys with US dollars, it pays more for the oil. JPS is a business and it must recover its loss. So the extra money that it paid for the barrel must be charged to the customers, which means that we pay more light bill, which is already high because of the devaluing of the money caused by overprinting by the government. We import certain food items, and if we have to pay more money to bring the food in, that means that the customer, the consumer, must pay more money to buy the same thing. And what you could afford last month, you can't afford this month. And our government is involved in this. Now, if it is that the people cannot afford to live, what happens now is that we increase the desperation in the citizens. And if a young man cannot earn a livable salary, if he goes the appropriate legal way and says what we and does what we say he must do, study for a degree or start a, if that is not possible, then crime, especially if it pays well. Now, if you add to that a weak justice system, a failing education system, the youth not having any concept of how to solve problems, of how to resolve conflicts, of how to manage the little money that he is getting, then we have demoralized youth. Add to that under-equipped police, and what you have, a recipe for disaster. We have created this problem ourselves. Because every single election we vote for the same people. From 1944 until present date, the system of governance has failed the Jamaican people. And yet, we encourage it and perpetrate it by voting for the same colonial system. Now, there is a saying that is commonly attributed to Albert Einstein, and I'm paraphrasing, that if you do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result, that is madness. No, we keep electing the same old colonial system and its politicians while turning a blind eye to crime and corruption. Well, it is time to fix it, and we cannot continue to go this way. So, what is it that we must do? The long and short of it is that we need to weed out corruption from the top. So the first and foremost effective way to stop the crime and violence is to change the governance, to weed out corruption. Before we even speak about policies, and the UIC does have policies, the UIC does have programs that can make all this better. But before all that, we need to weed out the corruption from the top. These politicians must go. But just getting rid of the corrupt politicians is not enough. We need to change the entire system of government. The system of governance that we inherited from the UK is based on a society where too much power is concentrated in the hands of a few elite. We call them haves and have-nots. And those who have reign and lord over the have-nots. And those who don't have it have to take it and suffer. Now, this division between those who have money and those who don't have money, between those who are seen as light-skinned, something that we get from the colonial system, being better than those who are dark-skinned, it breeds class conflict and division. All of this is coming from a system of governance that we got from the UK. And if we look in all the countries that were governed by the UK or sprung out of the UK, we see that their corrupt system of governance breeds a corrupt society. They may not have the amount of crime that is in Jamaica, but if we look, we see how people are divided against each other based on this class system. Now, we directly inherited the UK system of governance called the Westminster system. And all that works is, let me backtrack a little. The king or queen, well, it used to be king in those days, used to have absolute power until the people started an uprising and said that the people must rule the people. So they fed the lower house, the House of Representatives, and said, all right, cool, we will give you who to vote for. They allow the people to form the parties, and amongst the parties, the higher ups choose the representatives, and then allow the people to cast the ballots. So people thought they had choice. No, the people did not choose the representatives, mind you, it's the higher up who choose the delegates, and the delegates choose the representatives, and they present them to the people and say, all right, vote who you want, right? And then who is voted in becomes the member of parliament and forms the lower house, same like in Jamaica. Now, the upper house in the UK is called the House of Lords, and that is coming from the older times when the nobility, those persons who had land or who were not fully royal but half royal blood, as they would say, or the lords and ladies. So although the royal house and the nobles did not exert direct control over the people and gave the people representation in the House of Commons, which is the lower house. It's commons because the commoners house at the lower house. They put the higher ups, the nobles, the lords in the upper house, and so any law that the lower house passed had to be verified by the lords. So they still were ruling over the people. And the people thought that they had the say. No, Jamaica directly copied that system and carried it over here. But because we never have no lords, because black people were enslaved, so there were no lord and ladies among us. They just call us senators. So the upper house, no senators, and the lower house commoners, because everybody in Jamaica would be considered commoner. It just become the House of Representatives. But it is the same direct system. So now we have a system where we are given the people to vote for, and we think we have a choice. But you and I did not select those persons who are MPs now. The party hierarchy selected them, and we voted. And to ensure that the system would run, they created this partisan thing. Yo, me a ban labor right, or me a ban comrade, to ensure that the people would always war against each other. And whoever they put as delegate, they'd vote them in because you're born with red blood or orange blood, or you're born with green blood. And we have the House of Representatives slash the House of Commons and the House of Lords now. As I said, there were no lords. So just appoint him, come below them, 13 friends and associates. He does not qualify who he chooses as senators, but the leader of opposition chooses 8. And they don't have to explain to us why and how they chose these people. Them friends and associates. So they know who are higher up. now rule over us, and we have no say in the matter, and we think that we choose the government. Mind you, the senators are also part of government. Now, the person who wins the majority election controls most of the parliament, because the majority of MPs belongs to the winning party. Now, bear in mind that the MPs, the lower house, the House of Representatives, debates and passes law. And the senators, who are also part of parliament, review. If there's any amendment to make, they make it, and when both houses are passed, it goes up to the Governor General and becomes law. Now, it is the winning party that controls the majority of the parliament and the majority of the Senate, which means that the leader of the winning party controls the body that creates the laws that govern us. Now, bear in mind that the parliament must supervise or manage the cabinet, ensure that the cabinet does its job. Now, the person who wins the majority vote, the prime minister, selects from the legislature those ministers in his party that he thinks, or that he wants to be ministers, to be the cabinet, and the cabinet run the business of the country. Now, we expect the parliament that is controlled mostly by the winning party and its leader to do a fair job in managing it, which is composed of their own people. So we see that the prime minister controls the legislation, and they also control the executive, which is the cabinet. Now, the third lot, we talk about the three branches of government. We talk about the judiciary, the executive, and the legislative. The legislative is the Senate and the House of Representatives. The Prime Minister controls that. He has the majority of members. The executive is the cabinet, the Prime Minister, Governor General, all of that. We know the Governor General is mostly ceremonial, and he will give advice and so on. But is the Prime Minister in charge of the cabinet. For the court, which is the judiciary, it is the Prime Minister who, in association with the leader of the opposition, chooses and all the senior judges. So we see, even in law, even in the judiciary, the Prime Minister controls. So we have allowed all government power to be concentrated in one individual. So it is easy for corruption to occur, because he or she, depending on whether the Prime Minister is a female or a male, and I'm not speaking about the present government alone, I'm speaking about the entire system of governance. The Prime Minister controls everything. Who is a cabinet minister? What kind of laws can be passed? Because female people them. He appoints the majority of the Senate and chooses who defends our right in the judiciary. So we have a who are in control of everything. There's a saying that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Now, the same system of governance that we inherited from the UK that won its territory by conquests, by putting class over class, by creating the lords over the commoners. I've foisted that same thing over on Jamaica, so that we amongst ourselves have better thans and less thans. The haves and the have not. The higher up and the lower up. And that's why we can tell people, stay in your place. People do have place. People are people. So we can talk to people. She not in your class. Him not in your class. Where does that come from? It comes from dividing each other. So we need to change this system of governance that came from our colonizers, so that we can change that culture and bring in something that's more equal. Now, what does the UIC governance look like? First of all, we aim to create a Jamaica that is a non-partisan constitutional republic. And what that means, the non-partisan side, is that political parties will not influence how the votes go, nor will people be entering politics as a representative of a party. You represent yourself with the view that you'll be representing the people that you have applied to run for and represent. So Chase Neal running for governance under a UIC republic will be Chase Neal who thinks that he is the best man to run for whatever division or constituency, not being backed by a party. So when the parties lose their power now, then we have less of the division and less of a man want to kill a man because I'm a labor writer or a comrade, because in the end it doesn't matter. It's just like you joining a club. You just like that club. But it has nothing to do with politics. So people who want to go into politics will have to apply. Apply like you apply for a job and be interviewed and be audited. And if you pass the interview and the audit, also you'd have to do a governance test, by the way. So it doesn't make sense you're going to be running for politics and governance and you know nothing about governance. So if you want to run for governance under non-partisan, the non-partisan, you will have to apply. You will have to pass a test, be interviewed, and be audited. And if you pass all of that, then you may seek persons to nominate you and then be in the run for elections. So by doing that, we have already cut down on a lot of corruption because there's no party loyalty or party favors are squeezing a youth because they belong to the same party, right? Now, we will be voting for the MPs separate from the leader of the country, which we propose to be a president and not a prime minister. Now, if we combine the roles of governor general and prime minister, we pay one person instead of two for the same thing. And the president will be voted for nationally. So everybody in all will be able to vote for the leader of the country, separate and apart from voting for the MP. Why? I am sure that you know some members of parliament who are ineffective, who don't make any sense, or maybe corrupt, but you vote still because you want a certain party leader to be prime minister. We're going to cut that out. So MPs now will have to work and do what is in the interest of the constituents for them to be voted in, because their election has nothing to do with the national ruler, because the president, or should I say the national servant, because really a leader is a servant. And we have this ruling mentality that makes us think that we're better than others. So head of governance and head of state election apart from MP elections. So we cut out corruption again right there, because we're not supporting no corrupt MP, because we don't need them to get the leader that we think is best for our country. Another thing that in the UIC governance structure is that above the MPs, in terms of precedence, there will be parish senators. No, unlike the present system where the prime minister appoints the senators, 13 of them, while the leader of opposition appoint any 8 person who him want as senator, or she, depending on whoever the leader is of the opposition is. We will have the parishioners, the citizens of each or their parish senator in each parish. So now we will be paying 14 senators instead of 21, less money spent by the country on putting money in these people's pockets. Plus, the people have a choice now in who will review the laws of that the laws that are passed by the MPs. So people don't just force anybody on you. You would have had a choice in selecting who it is that represents you in the Senate. But the Senate will have an additional role. In addition to reviewing laws passed by the lower house, each parish senator will review the work of the MP in each constituency in his or her parish. So we ensure that the MPs, because there's someone holding them accountable, and there will be someone holding the parish senator accountable. And we say the VPs, so we'll elect 3 VPs, 3 vice presidents, 1 per county, a vice president for Cornwall, a vice president for Middlesex, and a vice president for Surrey. And it is those citizens in the county that vote for the vice president who lives in their county. So now we have 3 vice presidents who may represent or substitute for the national president. And they, in turn, ensure that the parish senators in the parish within their own county are doing their job of holding the MPs accountable. So senators hold MPs accountable, vice president hold the senators accountable, and the president accountable. But it works 2 ways. The 3 independent vice presidents, remember there's no party favors, no party loyalties here in politics. So they are not all off in the same party and now have a game and a blind because they come from the same party or so. These are people who are independently elected by the persons in their respective counties or constituencies who may not have met each other before. It could be simple Jamaicans like me and you. Well, that will be provided for anyway. And I will speak to that after. So we have vice presidents holding the president accountable. And then senators holding the VPs accountable, while the VPs themselves hold the senators accountable. Senators holding MPs accountable, and it works the other way, while the MPs hold the councillors at the local level accountable. So balances, and the president cannot effect policy without buy-in by the majority of VPs. So unlike the present system where the prime minister can tell the cabinet what he wants and the majority of them have to hear what he says because theme cabinet, the president under UIC must be able to get the VPs to buy into the policy that he plans to effect. And all of this will be weighed against a constitution that protects our right to our life, our liberty, our property, so that our new government cannot force anybody to do what they don't want to do. So we can't force anybody to take any that they don't feel is in their best interest after they have checked their doctor and so forth. So the government cannot impose that on you because the government is not a medical association. You must have the right to choose who you associate with, where you go, what jobs you like to pursue, how you will succeed in life. And the government facilitates your development, not hinders it. So with the UIC government, you see already how a man can't just get up and make a decision. It has to be checked and balanced. Now, another thing is that no UIC, well, not no UIC, no senator or MP under this new constitutional republic will be able to hold any ministry roles. Now, it is baffling that somebody who does not know anything about health, for example, can be a minister of health. This is coming again from the colonial system where the leader of government can exercise control the way he wants and appoint anybody without qualifying to be a minister in his or her cabinet. But under this new constitutional republic that we propose, you cannot be the minister of any ministry that you have no expertise or experience in. So for Minister of National Security, you must have been employed or trained or qualified for security. So you must have been a police officer or a soldier and so forth. You cannot be a minister of education unless you're qualified to teach or to be an administrator in education, for example. And these ministers are selected this way. The president slash the national executive appoints persons who are so qualified. Then those persons who are appointed, and I use that loosely, must be vetted by the Senate. As I said, the Senate are comprised of the senators who were elected by the people in each parish. And so they vet publicly and give the results of the vetting so that the people can see what's going on. Those who pass the vetting process are then voted or elected by the members of parliament. So the members of parliament vote for or against this person being appointed. And whomever passes the vetting and the election then becomes the minister. This person would already have had the qualification, those who voted and elected and vetted that they are the best person for the job. No, we can have the legislature, the parliament monitoring the cabinet, because no, the cabinet does not come from the same body of people. These are people now who have been appointed, who are subject matter experts and have nothing to do with the lawmakers. Now the lawmakers can vet and monitor and supervise and say whether or not they're doing the work of the country. So we see that we cut out corruption from top, right? So when we have the head, the top saying we're not in the corruption thing, then we have less backdoor deals going on. So it trickles down to society, right? It trickles down to society, and I see someone suggesting a better word for appointed, nominate. Yes, so backtracking, it is the president or the national executive who would nominate qualified persons to be ministers. The Senate vets them, then the members of parliament elects, votes for or against. Yes. So we see under this system, corruption already is being cut. So with there being less corruption, there will be naturally less crime. And then we can now look at the plans and the policies that the UIC has to really reduce crime drastically. Though, as we had said before, the article would have summarized some of what I said. The last thing I'd said in the article, we need to change the entire system of government. And the government that we inherited from the UK is based on a society where too much power is concentrated in the hands of a few. And this breeds class conflict and division. No, UIC's system of government is one where the national president is elected by the people, separate and apart from the MPs, which prevents the voting in of known inefficient and corrupt MPs, just for the preferred party or leader to win. Then when this president is kept in check by 3 elected county-based independent VPs, who are each kept in check by parish-based senators, who are elected by the residents living in each parish, instead of the norm being appointed by the prime minister and leader of opposition, which cuts down the chance of them. Then we have more accountability and less chance of corruption in government. Now picture this too. No MPs or senators would be able to touch the people's money directly, nor be appointed as cabinet ministers. Only subject matter experts could be nominated by the president and they would then have to be vetted by the Senate. Then MPs, well, we said that already, would then vote on who to hire. The successful persons would then be appointed as government ministers and be monitored by the MPs in Parliament. Now, this is a system of governance that will ensure that we nip corruption in the bud. Getting rid of corrupt leadership will put a big dent in crime and also ensure that we cut down on misappropriation of public funds. What a nice word for thief. So, in our government. And we should really be aware of how this stealing of public funds affects us. There was this live that was published last year on UIC Liberty TV. You can search for it if you want. It says, the title is, Can Jamaica Become a Global Elite Nation? In this live, Can Jamaica Become a Global Elite Nation? It was broken down in figures, the amount of money that we lose per year in corruption, and it was over 1 billion US dollars. Over 1 billion US dollars our politicians them thief because the system of governance allows them to do this because there's no accountability. And it was gross. And you can check that live, as I said, that that money could have been repurposed to buy a significant amount of hospital beds, a significant amount of fire trucks, a significant amount of social programs in depressed communities. Now, the stealing of public funds creates desperation and lack and poverty in our country, in each community, which also drives up the crime. So if there is no appropriate social program to help these youth who may be from poorer homes gain access to education to improve themselves, or they cannot get any jobs, then what are they to do but to find those by which they can support themselves? And where does this come from? Because our leaders keep thief out the money so that there's not enough to improve the country. We need to have a lot of accountability, and the only way we will have that is if we change the system of governance. Now, on to short-term fixes. Now, we can implement harsher, stiffer penalties and hope that they will work, as people have been calling for. And we can encourage more business owners and homeowners to buy into the Jamaica Eye program and get cameras installed on their premises so that we are more likely to catch murderers and other criminals in the act. These are but short, but the real solution is to vote in the UIC so that we can change the system of governance and work together with the people to bring about our plans. Now, the first plan, well, the overall plan that covers many of the other plans is the 10-point plan for Jamaica. And I just go through that quickly while explaining. Now, the first point on our 10-point plan is a youth employment program to ensure that every high school graduate who does not go on to university has a job, learns valuable skills, and are kept out of gangs. Now, this point also features on our education plan. Now, if you vote in the UIC, not only will we change the system of governance, we can have more accountability, and nobody can be supporting these gunmen and all of that because that cut out now. No longer can you steal government money. Not government money, sorry, the public's money, so that the public is suffering. we not only do that through changing the system of governance, we also have some effective plans to ensure prosperity and progress in Jamaica. And one of them in the overall 10-point plan is ensuring that every single youth who leave high school and who is not in college or university or has a job is in an apprenticeship program, has a job and is earning. So we call it YES, employment service. So how it works, number of industries, a number of ways in which the youth can learn. We have paramedic, they can apprentice to to paramedics, they can be apprenticed to defense, that's to the military, they can be apprenticed to agriculture, to manufacturing, to over 15 fields. And while they are learning and becoming qualified, they are earning a stipend. So that at the end of a year, or if they need another year, they can just they can be facilitated in the formal employment system so that now they're empowered. Now, in addition to the youth being empowered, we keep them out of gangs so that gangs don't have this ready pool of persons to draw from to create mischief. And this system that works in Japan, there are no idlers on the road. Youth know what they're doing as soon as they leave high school. No, we will ensure that those who don't know what they're doing will be placed in an area of service that prevents them from creating public mischief and empowers them, which will in turn empower Jamaica. Now, the second point in the 10-point plan is creating a modern police and national defense service that treats our police and soldiers with the respect and salary they deserve, as they are empowered to protect the life, liberty, and property rights of every citizen equally. So we cannot be paying those persons who put their life on the line pennies. A soldier, a coast guardsman or sailor, a police officer works in a job in which they can lose their life at any moment. They must be properly compensated. They must be given the resources they need to complete their job. And we can't say that we don't have the resources. As the live ad alluded to, can Jamaica become a global elite country would show, we lose over 1 billion US, over 1 billion US dollars every year just through thieving in government. Imagine if we repurpose that to pay our professionals properly. So we get rid of the corruption in government and pay the people properly. Then we would have more defense. And we would have motivated police officers left. Because we know about that, right and left. Police asking people for money because they can't survive. The third point of the 10-point plan, ensuring every child has the nutrition, education, and healthcare that they need to succeed, and provide the opportunity for teachers, nurses, and doctors to be highly paid so that they can afford the quality of life they deserve. Now, this point also features some points in the education plan. Now, if we ensure that all our children are eating, all our families who we term as poor are able to have a good meal, nutritious meal, they are able to afford health care and education, then we will have created citizens who need to go out and rob, who do not see the need to be depressed because they cannot afford the basics of life. We would have empowered Jamaicans to be the best that they can be. Now, how will we achieve this? The sales tax, or the GCT, which will be capped at 10%, will be dedicated solely for this. So we will ensure that the GCT is only used to help those families who cannot help themselves. And we will ensure that the GCT does not pass 10% so that people go home with more of the money that they have worked. No more government thievery. Our next point, the fourth point on the 10-point plan, is to dive Jamaican a property owner in garrisons, ghettos, and squatter communities. Now, the concept of crown land comes from the thought that all land belongs to the crown, belongs to the royal family. No, we don't recognize no royal family in a constitutional republic. Jamaica belongs to Jamaicans, therefore the land belongs to Jamaicans. So we cut out all that mess. What crown land? Every Jamaican family must own the land that they live on. No more property tax. So the land is yours, garrisons, we get rid of that. Ghettos, we get rid of that. Everybody is living in dignity. And that is the UIC goal, that is the UIC mission. Next, our fifth point of the 10-point plan is to eliminate and ensure that Jamaica has a good quality in every community and introduce 21st century rail and ferry services around the island. Now, we see where this would encourage efficiency. When we have a transport problem, then we have a problem in efficiency. We have delays when we have a road network that is not working. We have to spend a lot of money to fix our transports, our cars and so forth that are heavily battered by our bad roads. That's a waste of money. So we need to just once and for all fix the roads and maintain them. We don't want to maintain this thing where we wait until the road goes bad and we do a bad job just so a man can eat a food. No, fix the road properly and then you get paid. Then we ensure that we have a rail service, even more efficient transport system, and we have a ferry service that so we know that in Jamaica sometimes things can get all up, and there is a concept of Jamaican time versus actual time, which sets us back a lot. Much of our progress as a nation is held up because we don't understand the concept of time, and and this lack of timeliness is fed into by our transport system. Not the cause of it, but it does contribute to it. So by cleaning that up, we clean up our national efficiency in a big way. The next point, make food, water, and energy secure by shifting from mining, which destroys the environment, to alternative energy production, water harvesting, and making Jamaica the organic food capital of the world. Jamaica has no shortage of sunlight. So we are prime and ready for solar energy. We are primed for wind energy, for hydroelectricity. So if we shift to alternative energy production, we cut this JPS monopoly down so that we don't have to suffer from these high electricity bills. The government simply lacks the will to do this. But under UIC government, under the government that we will bring into being, there will be no more raping and slaving of the Jamaican people by the JPS. Also, by efficient water harvesting, we will ensure that not control the people like it did. They had a strike. Granted, we do encourage the NWC for standing for their rights. They should be paid, but there should not be a situation where if the NWC decides not to work, then Jamaicans don't have any water. We have to empower all Jamaicans to have access to the basics that they need. This point also speaks to making Jamaica the organic food capital of the world. What do we have going for us? We have the natural agriculture. Now, we must compete on a global level. Right now, our top competition, well, our top industry is the tourism industry, which does not benefit Jamaicans, by the way. But we have more than that. We can be the organic food capital of the world, and this can be our brand and our way to make Jamaica economic on the world stage. And it also contributes to a healthier population. Our next point on the 10-point plan is to eliminate poverty with a workfare program that provides every Jamaican a job. We will not be looking at welfare, because when you hand people things, when you control the resources that you give people, when you make people dependent on welfare, then you have robbed people of their chance to own their own progress and own their development. We will honor the dignity of every human being. And those persons who are unable to access certain amenities or basic needs will be provided for by the government, but we're not giving them a thing to let them feel that they owe us. Because how it works now is that they did this system where they control the resources. So if you need something, you have to go to the MP, and the MP give you, and by giving you the things now, you earn the MP's loyalty, so you vote for him. Control him, control you. No. If you need resources and you're unable to access, the government gives you, but is a loan. How you pay back? By working. We will remove the excess income tax and cap it at 10%. Now, by citizens working and giving us 10% of their wages, of their salary, they would have paid back anything that the government would have given them. So, and that's where we honor your dignity. You need food, you need education, and you can't access. All right, it is provided for you, but you have to work. You have to have a job, and 10% of your salary over time pays back, and then you get to empower yourself so that you don't have to be dependent on any one person. No, you can give back what was given to you and build for yourself. And through that, we eliminate poverty. Nobody has to be poor. In fact, poverty is actually a problem caused by poor governance. So we eliminate poverty. Everybody in Jamaica can eat a food. Everybody in Jamaica can work. And I don't mean eat a food by saying that hustling or thieving thing. You can get money. You can make money honorably. Get rid of this. Our next point, our eighth point in the 10-point plan. Get rid of the Queen, the Governor General, the colonial constitution, and become a truly independent, non-partisan constitutional republic. Never again should we have a dictator as a leader. No, our colonial former rulers should not have any more association with us. Why is it that we are keeping the Queen? For what? Our head of state must be representative of the people. We cannot have a head of state that sits in England who is a white person who cannot associate with our national identity, with our problems. Our head of state must be chosen by us and must represent us. And we cannot have a dictator. No, the UIC governance structure prevents dictate. President cannot force his or her own personal desires or policies that he or she has created without it being vetted and approved by the VPs and then by the Senate who are each independent of each other. So the system of governance that we propose already cuts out dictatorship. And I think it important. I think it important to point out that we as a people, those of you who are listening here, please share this. We do not want a fake republic. No, the Barbados has named themselves a republic, but they have retained the same system of governance that they got from the UK. Now, instead of a governor general representing the Queen, they now have who was elected by the MPs to represent them, their interests. None of that. None of that. The republic must be governed by the people, and the leader of the republic must be chosen by the people, not no MPs. It must be the people's choice who they are ruled by. And the parliament cannot be supreme, the parliament cannot be sovereign, or no one person must be sovereign of Jamaica. Every single person is sovereign within his or her own right. And in the same way that we honor sovereign countries, we will honor every sovereign person's right to their own personhood, their own life, their own liberty and property. So we get rid of the Queen and the Governor General and that colonial mess, that we don't have a dictator and nobody will impose on anyone by force or fraud. Now, the ninth point in the 10-point plan is that we must and we will investigate, prosecute, and convict all politicians and their associates, whether dead or alive, who participated in any form of corruption that can be proven via a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. So we will investigate. And we will include an amnesty program that provides credible information to the Commission. I do wish that the government will enact our 10-point plans. So sometimes it is that the both sides of the political divide of the main political parties copy some policies out there. I wish they would copy this one and prosecute every single one of them and their associates that have participated in corruption and have put the Jamaican people at a disadvantage. So you see, we are big on cutting out corruption. And then the 10th, the last point in our 10-point plan, we plan to eliminate property taxes and duties, replacing them with a single 10% income tax, which I had spoken to, from all sources, and a 10% GCT to eliminate poverty and provide for emergencies. Now, with this plan alone, with this policy alone, we see how we can cut out crime by getting rid of the desperation that it's crime. I had shared a strange theory by sociologist Robert Merton, who said that whenever people don't have access to the socially acceptable means of developing self, then they are more prone to commit crime and follow those ways of achieving that are not legal or maybe harmful to society. Now, we know would have provided access to food, access to education, access to healthcare, access to owning their own homes, just by the 10-point plan. We have not gone in the education plan. We have not gone in the crime response plan. We would have ensured also that we have more tightly knit communities through our 10-point plan. When so desperate, then they are less likely to participate in a dog eat dog mentality. Now, time will not permit me now to go through our education plan, but it is in the link. and I would greatly appreciate. I think, well, it would do you well, do us all well to check it out and see what is proposed there. But to summarize, the education plan, which we call LEAP, the Learning Enrichment Advanced Program, that's our education plan, is comprised of 8 pillars, and the first of them is an Afrocentric curriculum that caters to 3 areas, or three areas of study, which is one, understanding the self, understanding you, understanding money. If, if we understand ourselves and what makes for a healthy mind, a healthy body, healthy emotion, if we understand human behavior and we know how to build and maintain strong personal relationships, whether they're family relationships, social friend relationships, intimate relationships, business relationships, when we understand money, how to invest even just a little, as little as 10% of our salary, or even less, although it will take a longer time, or to run businesses, or to make money work for us instead of us working for money. All of that combined, we understand ourselves, how to manage ourselves. We know how to solve conflicts properly. We know how to know relationships. We know how money work for us, so that the struggle is not so great. That alone will create a tightly knit society, and make it less likely for people to be so disconnected from their communities and from national life that they form gangs and find themselves within crime. But I leave you now. I leave you now to check that out, because the live will not permit me to go into all the details. Check out also our crime response plan that will show how we intend, in addition to what we said here, creating the environment for us to achieve, so that we have less light led into crime, and also to ensure accountability and less corruption. We do have a crime response plan that speaks to how we equip security forces and social programs that we will bring forth. The youth employment solution also features there, and an interesting thing is youth activities such as esports. It is proven in many studies that electronic sports do help to drive down crime rates. We Under youth activities, there will be farming opportunities such as aquaponics. I encourage anyone who doesn't know what aquaponics is to research it. It's $1 million business, which is really an hybrid of fish rearing, vegetable growing, all the crime response plan, in addition to equipping the police and using technology where human resource is short. But you can check it out. Everything is in the link there. You can check the rest of my article that I was just reading from. But suffice it to say that if we want to reduce violence in Jamaica, we must hold our governance, our politicians accountable. And the only way that that will ever be done is if we change the system and we demand better. And I would encourage you, based on what we have presented to you as the United Independence Congress, that at the next local government election, if you want better for your country, you vote UIC. At the next, we claim this country for ourselves and we vote UIC, so that we will create the Jamaica that makes that makes the best for Jamaicans. All right, so we go now to the comment section. See if there are any questions that need to be answered. Enough niceness said, I don't understand how someone can take another person's life and can't get life imprisonment for it. All right, so that comes under the stiffer and harsher penalties. Um, uh, I must say, even with imprisonment, we must have a serious rehabilitation program. So prison should not just keep people from society. Prison must use the of psychological help, counseling, compensation to society, and therefore and so forth, to make these offenders better versions of themselves. Daniel Wright says the government is making it hard for us overseas to help those who out there that need help. This is true. We see where the government is holding down the economy, and we need to establish a free market economy where we, the consumers, we, the buyers, and we sellers are the persons who are the ones who participate in the economy without any external control. Lady Williams, down with the old colonial government, up with the UIC. I endorse that, Lady. One Jamaica. Pat Lou, in Jamaica, there's death row. The prison is full. Does that solve crime? No, it doesn't solve crime. Um, so we must create the society that reduces the number of criminals and murderers that we have out there, and we must revamp the prison system to not only keep these offenders away from society, but also rehabilitate them, as I said, and ensure that they compensate their victims. Sean Campbell, corruption is the cause of all the problems in Jamaica. Yes, sir. Jamaica was never made for Africans. It was made for the overlords, and the overlord system still exists. Lady, the US is about to weed out corruption. Best believe it. Starting with the crime minister and Ali Barber and his 40 thieves. Yes, we're cutting out the corruption. And we need your help, Jamaica. We are the people's movement, and we really need the people to be involved in their movement. You're king this, we need them on board. Like and share. People need to see these policies, get involved, volunteer, become a member. And for those who can donate, we are not funded by any private sector companies, any oligarchies, any wealthy foundations, and so forth. As it exists now, the big businesses and big corporations fund the two major parties, and then they control what they do. The people fund us. The people control what we do. So we encourage all Jamaicans, because I don't believe in a comrade and labor, right? You know, everybody born with red blood. Nobody born with green or orange blood. So Jamaica, support Jamaica's movement. Donate so that your movement can work for you. Pat Lewis, I'm in the UK. Boris Johnson has gone, so get rid of Andrew Holness. Yes, we have to get him out. All right. All right. Yes, Lion. Mr. Patterson is doing very well. All right. Who is going to do the interview? That sounds like communism to me. Uh, who is going to do the interview? All right. So for I'm guessing that that means the interview for the persons who apply for political offices, Sean. All right. So we can, just as there is a commission for electoral services also, we people are involved in a commission that is engaged for interviewing these persons. So it is really nothing hard. It's not really any communism also. It's just that we must ensure that we have persons who are worthy of being members of parliament or senators or councillors and so forth. Or yes, Patricia Brooks, the Minister of Health, has absolutely no medical background. It's appalling that they just choose who they want to choose. All right. There is comment on the other two parties. Now, I want to make it clear that UIC is not so much against JLP or PNP. UIC is against the system of that the JLP and the PNP perpetrate. So they are a result of the Westminster colonial system of governance, and that's what we are against. And automatically, if we are against that system, JLP and PNP, which perpetrate that system, it cannot stand in our eyes. But just to make sure that we are not against the JLP, we are not against the PNP or their leaders or members. We are against the system of governance that they are putting forward and that they are organized under. Yes, sir, Patterson, we are the resistance indeed. It's a long time for the Prime Minister to go. Yes, Nezwa Komodo. I hope I am pronouncing that properly. All right. The reminder here. Let us work 1,000 donors of $25 per month to fund all our all island tours, our town hall meetings, flyers, national events. All right, let me comment on that. As I had already explained, the UIC depends on the people. We are at your mercy, and this is by design. This is by on purpose, because as we said, we are here for you. We are here to bring your own progress. Well, not let me not say your, our own progress, our own best life. So we now must be involved and we must contribute to making a Jamaica that we want. So for us to achieve these plans, these policies, and the system of governance, we will need to have 1,000 donors in short order of at least $25. That's let us say $2,500 a month. We need at least 1,000 persons doing that so that we can equip all our candidates across Jamaica to campaign and win this. So yes, we need the Prime Minister to go. We need this present system of governance to go, and we need to claim Jamaica for ourselves. But that takes money. So we need everyone now to help us reach there. And we contributing to it. All right. UIC is the party with the plan for change. Vote UIC. Yes, lady. I echo that. Vote UIC. Jamaica for Jamaicans. Aim, Lion. All right. The government must be removed by force. Sir KB, the people must be convinced within themselves that they don't want the government, and then the government will be removed when we fight with our vote. Make that X, right, where you see the handshake, making the image of Jamaica. That's how we remove them. So we want to educate Jamaicans, and we all do our part by telling people about the UIC and sharing these videos. The NWC and JPS have too much power. Yes, Sir KB. So we need to get that out. Music is the best system that brings income to the people in the country. Yes, and we need to put more into that. Sir, thank you, cool guy. You've shown that the selection committee is doing a good job when finding representatives. All right, so it is more than just a selection committee. The UIC is not like the other present political parties that just choose representatives and so forth. It is people who want to, who think that they have what it takes to apply for the position, and then the National Executive Council reviews the applications. After they get certain training in governance by our recruiting team, so everyone who applies, every single one who applies, would have been led through basic governance training and introduction to the UIC's vision, mission, and so forth. And then the parish manager representatives would do an interview and a little introduction to the party. Then the NEC makes the National Exec Council makes the final selection based on the interview results. All right, so it's not like we just go out there and choose people. People apply, we vet, interview, teach, and then if there's more than one person who passes through, like say for example, I am parish manager of St. Mary, right? And there was more than one person who passed the interview, because not like we choose that. If more than one person pass the interview for parish manager or MP or whatsoever, then the other members of the party who are from the parish will then elect the person that they want to represent them in that manner. So it's not like a thing where the head chooses. All right, Lady Williams, informative and educational presentation. Lady doing great, thank you. We need to have the country getting tax return for the people them. Yes, Neswa, that is so true. Why are we not clicking the like button? Pat Lewis asked a question. I echo it. We're not clicking the like button, people. Click the like button. Yeah, man, get it. When we click the like button, then that tells the YouTube, what's it called again? Well, it informs YouTube that people actually like this video, and then YouTube is more likely to present this video to other persons. So when you like it, YouTube will say, all right, people like it. More people need to see this. Harsher punishment for the government if found guilty. All right, Liddy, the people will speak. All right, everyone. So I think this is it for tonight. So thank you for coming out. I hope this was informative, and I hope that you inform others. As again, I repeat, we need you to share algorithm. Yes, sir, KB. Sometimes my my vocabulary slips me, but yes, the YouTube algorithm sees the like and shares it with others. So share, like, share, subscribe, tell others about the UIC, volunteer if you can. There is the link in the description if you want to sign up to become a member or to volunteer. Donate as much as you can if you can, and let us change Jamaica and make Jamaica a Jamaica that brings out the best in its people. All right, everybody, have a good night, and let us work for one Jamaica. Peace.